In this video, you will learn how to simplify an expression involving exponents. Simplify the expression and write the answer without negative exponents. Now this has a lot going on in here. We have a quantity in parentheses, 4x to the negative 1 times y to the negative 2 times z to the third, all over 2x y squared z to the negative 3, and all of that raised to the negative 2 power. Notice our numerators and denominators have common factors. So we can actually simplify inside the parentheses first, which I suggest you do always. If you can simplify in the parentheses first, always do that. So let's look at, just to review quickly, some of the rules of exponents. We have product rule. So if we're multiplying two powers with the same base, we add the exponents. Quotient rule. If we're dividing two powers with the same base, we subtract the exponent. Now this would be applied in this problem, because notice we had x's divided by x's, y's divided by y's, so on and so forth. Negative exponent rule we might have to use in this problem. A to the negative m equals 1 over a to the positive m. Zero exponent rule, anything raised to the 0 power except 0 to the 0 power equals 1. Power to a power. If you have a power in parentheses raised to an exponent, you multiply those exponents. We definitely have this in our case. Product to a power, ab raised to the m, so a string of factors in parentheses raised to an exponent. You distribute that exponent, give it to each factor. And then quotient to a power, a quotient raised to an exponent, you distribute that exponent to the numerator and to the denominator. Okay, back to our problem. So simplify the expression and write the answer without positive exponents. So notice inside the parentheses, we can definitely simplify a bit. So I'm going to write an equal sign here to indicate that what I write next is equivalent. Now the 4 and the 2 have a common factor of 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So that can be written as 2 over 1. Now, I'd like to space this out just a little bit and show you something. So I'm just going to basically copy the rest of this information. Now in that denominator, that x, I'm going to call it x to the positive 1. And again, I'm just copying down, spacing things out, putting the common variables over each other. Which it's already set up like that, but if they weren't immediately on top of one another, you would want to do that. Now notice right here, these x's, it's an x to some power divided by an x to some other power. So in that case, we have to subtract the exponents. Now when you apply that quotient property, the answer goes in the numerator. The same thing's going to happen here with the y's, the same thing's going to happen with the z's. We're going to be putting our answer in the numerator when we do this. So let's rewrite it again and see what happens. So now I'll write an equivalent statement here. Still the parentheses, still the division bar. We still have this 2 over 1. Now, our x's becomes negative 1 minus 1. Our y's become negative 2 minus 2. Our z's will become negative 3 minus negative 3. Still all raised to the negative 2. So a couple things happened here. We applied that quotient rule, and then in our denominator is just 1. So we don't even need a fraction anymore. This does not always happen. Sometimes you still have items left in the denominator. This time it just didn't happen. So let's rewrite this now. 2. Now x. Negative 1 minus 1 is negative 2. So 2x to the negative 2. Y. Negative 2 minus 2 is negative 4. Z. Negative 3 minus negative 3 means 3 minus negative 3 actually becomes 3 plus 3. So that's a 6. All raised to the negative 2. Now what we're going to do next is every single one of these factors, factors in the parentheses, and there are 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 of those. Every single one of those gets raised to the negative 2 power. So 2 gets raised to the negative 2 power. X to the negative 2 gets raised to the negative 2 power. Y to the negative 4 gets raised to the negative 2 power. And Z to the 6th gets raised to the negative 2 power. I just applied the power of a product property. Now 2 to the negative 2, just leave that alone for now until you get rid of these parentheses. Now right here, this x negative 2, x to the negative 2 raised to the negative 2, that's a power of a power. We need to multiply. Same thing here, same thing here. So we're multiplying. So now it becomes x to the positive 4, y to the positive 8, z to the negative 12. Okay, now there are two negative exponents that need to be taken care of. Right here and right here. Recall the negative exponent property. A to the negative m equals 1 over a to the positive m. So just the 2 to the negative 2 is actually 1 over 2 to the positive 2. So if you imagine a division fraction bar with a 1, some of these are going to be moved before they become positive exponents. The 2 must move to the bottom and become a 2 squared. The z must move to the bottom and become a z to the positive 12. The x to the 4 stays where it is. The y to the 8 stays where it is. And then all we need to do to finalize our answer is just change 2 squared to 4. Alright, we're left with all positive exponents and no bases that are the same, and everything is in simplest form.